Well, because what had happened was, as it was dropping me off, my chant had turned into "be good to him." I was just saying, so it had gone from "be good to me" to be good to him. And by the time I recognized how alien my mantra had become without my consent, it was all over. And it was just me again looking in the mirror. And I had this unshakable knowing that all I needed to do in life is be good. Like no matter what happens, just be good and everything will be okay. And everybody, just be good to everybody, and that's all I need to know. At least for now. But it was crazy the way the chant mantra thing worked. It allowed me to it allowed me to witness consciousness, or my little shard of it that runs this body. It had started out in me, and like in real time, it started out in me, and then in the middle of, as I was speaking, it went out and got sucked into the big blob of oneness with the universe to receive a little lesson, like be good. And then it boomeranged back into me with a little fortune cookie, telling my ego, like be good to him. And for those that haven't had, this isn't me reaching out and finding explanations and meaning for everything during these experiences like a fucking dream translator. These are knowings down at the core of your being. You don't even have to put any faith into it. It's like the sky being blue. Like knowings to the point that even at the end of the day, if it's nothing more than your brain's reaction to the substance and the experience, the universe can't expect you to not believe it's not something significant, something beyond yourself. It's more obvious and clear than anything you've ever been sure of in your life. So anyway, I had this sigh of relief, and I smiled as I pocketed my little gift of experience from the universe. And I headed up to my room to watch the sunrise and think on everything that had happened and swallow it all. And I took a bunch of notes for this video, and I thought on everything I was going to share with you guys. And then I smoked a couple bowls, and I listened to music as I waited for the rest of the LSD to wear off. And I ended up taking some sleeping pills, and I ended up taking some sleeping pills to speed up the process, because the thing I dislike the most about LSD is the come down. One second, let me drink. Your brain, on the come down, your brain is still running super fast, and you're processing thoughts extremely fluently and efficiently. But at the same time, you're so exhausted, and you're lacking any of the bodily euphoria and general umph that comes with it. So you're just like, please stop. Like it was fun for 6 or 8 hours or whatever, but please leave me alone now. And it doesn't. It fades away really, really slowly, and it's just an icky place to be in for too long. But yeah, I just smoked some. I listened to music, and I took notes such as I think. Yeah, okay. I feel sometimes that this entire experience is one of consciousness's desperate attempts to learn itself better, because it never quite looks at itself enough. Like it's like the entire universe is trying desperately to see itself and learn exactly what it is, and look into the eye and look into the ultimate void of itself. But for some fucking reason, it's always one step away. It's always one step too far away from making that happen. Like it's impossible. It's like you can build up every piece of the contraption to be able to set that up, but by the time you press the on button, you lose a vital piece. And it's like it's just not allowed. Like there's not enough room in the universe. But it doesn't care. It's not it doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. It's not allowed. It doesn't care that it's not allowed. It just keeps complexifying and building stars, which explode into solar systems, which allow gravitated water, which allows microbial single-celled organisms that eventually lead to where we are now. And then we're here building technology that will eventually be able to upload ourselves to, and being able to avoid the rigorous leapfrogging that eventually, or to avoid the leapfrogging that the consciousness has to currently do through bodily vessels that are constantly dying and losing their memories, so that consciousness has to progress slowly through generations and elders and folk tales and shit. but this way we'll be able to upload it all into one immortal, well, not immortal, but much more immortal than us, and then we'll be able to upload it to that immortal spot, and then what is that going to do? It's like everything is speeding up. Time is speeding up exponentially, like Terrence says, like in the sense that if we measure time by the events within it, and the amount of events that occur within an hour today is like 1 trillion more events that took place within the same window of time 1 trillion years ago. You see, like it's constantly getting faster and faster, and more complex, and more pieces are connecting with other ones, and eventually it's going to be this one big burst of happeningness known as the singularity. But what I feel that the singularity is the universe or God or whatever you want to call it finally getting to see itself, to observe and know itself for what it truly is, finally making it over the horizon and jumping into whatever is next, if anything at all. And maybe this is that other thing. Anyway, I have more notes on this whole subject, but I want to move on and tell you guys the other story, my primary story, actually, and then I'll return to these notes or whatever, however this video works out. So fast forward 15 days. October 18th. Actually, I'm gonna pause this video so that I don't lose the recording for whatever reason. Then I'm gonna start up again. Okay, we're back. So fast forward 15 days to October 18th. Lynn, the week before, had come to me and told me that she wanted a trip together that weekend, and I wasn't too interested since I had just tripped pretty hard like 2 weeks prior, like you had just heard about. And if I have LSD too much in succession, my muscles they tense up and they start to ache after a while, which I'm actually not sure what that's about, because it's not a stimulant, and there's a lot of people who have the same effect, but I haven't found an answer as to what exactly causes it to happen, which is weird. Anyway, so I just really wasn't that interested, but she was, and I had figured by the time the weekend came around, she'd have forgotten about it, or maybe I'd be down again, whatever. But Friday comes around, the 18th, and we had met up for lunch, and she decided to come back with me to the hotel. And once we got here, she brought it up, but she wanted to take some MDMA. I don't really like Molly. I do, but I have to be in a very specific mood, and it's a stimulant, so you don't want to use it more than like on a monthly basis, especially with my heart problems or my chest problems, whatever it is. I still haven't figured out what the fuck it is. But you want to. That aside, you want to wait. You want to give your receptors time to rebuild themselves, so you don't risk your brain overheating, which leads to seizures and comas and shit. Anyway, yeah, my point is, I like to save it for when I really feel like it. So if I was going to trip, I was going to take some LSD, and I have it on blotter paper and in the form of crystal microdots. The microdots are like insane. You trip for like 12 hours. So at 10, I decided to take some more blotter acid. I took half of my previous dosage, so I took a tab and a half. Lynn took 200 milligrams of MDMA, and we headed to get some dinner. Once everything started to kick in, it started to rain outside, so we left and got back to the hotel for the night. Once we got up to our room, everything was fine. I remember making one more trip downstairs around 12 to get some fresh clothes out of my car since mine were all wet. And I got back up to the room and changed and washed up and all that. And then we just started hanging out in the room for a while. And one second. And at a certain point, while we were hanging out, I was just trying to watch TV, and Lynn, I guess because she was on a stimulant, I don't know what it is, she wouldn't just shut the fuck up. And it started giving me anxiety, which is the last thing you want when you're tripping. I mean, at a certain point, she just wouldn't shut the fuck up. At a certain point, I was like, fuck this. I've tried flat out telling her to just shut up or call a friend or something, because I'm trying to just do me for a second, just be quiet for just a second. And, watch Carl yell at Shake on Aqua Teen or whatever. But it was clear that wasn't going to happen. I wasn't necessarily angry. I was just anxious and frustrated. So around 2 a.m., I decided to go outside and walk around the hotel, like I had done earlier like I was telling you in the other story. I decided to go outside and walk around the hotel, just to clear my head or whatever. And I was going to take the same route as I did in the other story too. So I opened the door, and to the left are the elevators, and the way down, and then all the way to the right, at the end of the hallway, is a stairwell. I decided to take the stairwell since I was taking a walk. So I opened the door and went to the right towards the end of the hall. And once I got near the stairwell, even though I had headphones on, I just had this feeling that someone was looking at me, or just something. So right as I turned to open the door, I look over, and there were two black guys behind me, about 10 and 15 feet away from me, respectively. There was one to the left and one to the right. As soon as I looked at them, they looked away and started fucking around with the wall or whatever, as if they weren't doing anything. And that's when I was like, "Yo, yo, what's up? Are you guys all right? Like, what is this? What the fuck's going on here?" And before I could even finish asking what was happening, the one that was closest to me opened up the door that he was fucking around with, and like 3 or 4 more black dudes came walking out. One of them was massive in a blue and white polo, and they were just standing there looking at me, holding their door open. And the one holding it open, he says, "You need to get into the room." And then the one on the right that was originally following me, he suggests that I let them knock me out first. I started trembling, and I was like backing up, and I was just trembling. I was like, please don't do this. I was like, that's all I was saying was just please don't do this. And I was looking at them, and none of them, I'm standing here in sheer terror, being cornered at the end of a hallway, just like, please don't do this. And none of them gave the slightest fuck. The look in their eyes was so dead, so empty. They just did not care. They just wanted me to get into that room so that I wouldn't make a scene out in the hall. And, I mean, there's just a 4-story window behind me, and I just knew in my head that was it. I wasn't getting out of this, because my body had gone completely numb. Like, I could have taken a stab wound or a bullet, and I wouldn't have felt a thing. I wouldn't have felt shit. I don't know if it was the acid or what was doing it, but I just knew. I knew, this is how people feel when they're about to die. This lack of bodily senses is my consciousness preparing me for transcendence. So I was like, okay. I just started walking up to the room, and as I was walking up, I noticed the door leading to the stairwell to my left. And while keeping my eyes on their door and room as if that's where I was going, without any hesitation, I shoved the door open with every fucking muscle in my body. And I leaped. I fucking leaped down each flight of stairs. I mean, I was from the 3rd floor to the parking lot in 4 or 5 steps or leaps. I was fucking out of there. But the next thing I remember is I don't even remember that. Next thing I remember is finding myself in the middle of the road on my fucking knees, puking my guts out. There were a couple cars that passed by, but they didn't stop. I remember wondering if I had actually died and gone through some sort of threshold, because that's what it felt like. I was checking to see if my contacts were still in my phone and if the moon was still there and properly positioned and shit. It's really fucked up. It's a really fucked up, eerie feeling, but eventually Lynn came down looking for me since I had forgotten my room key. And I was like, get the fuck over. I was like, get the fuck over here. Jesus. And luckily I had my car keys on me for whatever reason. But we got in my car and we got the fuck out of there. We decided to go to our grandma's for the night.